Well, let's start right with the concept of urban design. What does it mean to design a city in a way that is both urban and sustainable?
Well, urban design is applied to the actual people staying in the area. It is their place. It's the place where they live. And so that is a kind of a framework to see to it that it is also a nice place to stay in. And that's where urban design comes in.
And why does it matter to a city, particularly a city such as Windhoek that is so vastly spread out?
Yeah, because we are kind of separated. All the areas are separated and due to the legacy and so on. And urban design can help to unify the city again in a way, but still focus more in the area itself where the people are staying. So every area has a different character also, and you work with that character or with those people in those areas.
Now, from an architectural standpoint, you will be assisting the city with the urban design framework.
Yes.
What are some of the main goals that this framework aims to achieve, particularly in light of the Luxury Hill North area?
You see, Luxury Hill is a very, say, underpopulated place where there's very open areas and so on. It's actually a non-place. And so we try to make this now a place because it's also very central in Windhoek and it's where all the tourists go and where people are. So we will now find measures in which it becomes a space to be in, to want to be in, you know. And because it's so empty, there's nothing which really attracts you, or it becomes also unsafe and so on. And yeah, it's the center of Windhoek actually. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned that it's somewhat of a non-space, and you're trying to, urban design will then aid in making it a place that is habitable, for lack of a better word. How will this then help in tackling some of the issues such as safety?
Okay, like safety, for instance, a very good, how do you say, way forward is to have eyes on the street. It means that windows need to look on the street, and you need people to walk and see each other, so crime will get less. It needs to be lit properly, no dark spaces, no alleys and that sort of stuff. And so it needs to be paved as well, things like that. And as an architect or as an urban designer, you work on how does a building meet the pavement, how does a pavement meet the street, and what happens in between. Yeah.
Now, can we dive a little bit deeper into that? Because I think most people, once they walk on streets and especially walk through neighborhoods, what they feel most connected to about a city is how it feels, how cohesive it all comes together. What are some of the things that urban design can help improve in terms of not just the luxury hill area, but the city as a whole?
Very important is how does the property, because there's a lot of the private properties which meet now the street. So urban design concerns the public space, the public areas. And now the question is, how does the private person with his building or his house correspond to what is public? So you get houses which are set back very far, and then you have high walls, and you can't see in. So it becomes a street which is like a alley, like a tunnel. It is a non-space, and it becomes a dangerous space because nobody's watching you whilst you're walking there and so on. So one way of solving that sort of thing is if you have palisade fence. So that if you're in the garden, you see somebody walking there and say, "Hi, how's it? And how's it going?" And so there comes a conversation. Whilst if you have a wall, there's no conversation. And so there's these ways of things like trees, for instance. Do you plant the trees very far into your private property, or more towards the front, or on the pavement? The other way is, how does your house, if your house is exactly on the pavement, how could it become more friendly? Like say maybe it becomes a shop or something, and you can walk from a pavement into the house or into the shop. That becomes then also communicative and so on. And especially us, we are social people. We want to speak to each other. So maybe there's a chair or a table on the pavement there, linked to the house, and you walk past and I say, you talk again, you know, and that sort of thing makes it can make an area very nice and livable.
And much safer, like you said.
Much safer. The thing is also our streets are very wide, so traffic is very fast. And how can I reduce the speed of traffic without now humps all the way? And one way is to make the streets narrower, so that the driver, he's actually already starting to say, oh, I have to watch out that car, so he's automatically driving slower. And the minute he drives slower, there's less dust, there's less pollution. He looks at left and right all the time, is somebody running across the road and so on, because we all try to be safe and so on, so it automatically becomes safer.
Now, when it comes to this, you mentioned a lot about, you know, the residents and their private property, which speaks to community being a crucial aspect of the urban design process. Yes. How are residents and other stakeholders able to get involved in the urban design process, and are they part of shaping the plan or rather the decision-making process?
They are actually the main partners. We are the facilitators. Like, I don't go into an area and say, look, this is what we're going to do, you just shut up, you know, this is, you know. But it isn't how it works, because the area is their area. And so you have to get them together and you have to ask them now, you know, what bothers you? What is this? When somebody will say, yeah, well, there's this, the pavement is low, or there is a, how do you call it, manhole cover missing, and there's this there, and so on, and this is dirty, and so on. And when you write these things down, and then you say, what is if we pave over the area and make it less dusty, would you walk there? Yes, of course I would walk there. And then they would say, now, if your house is all green, say, do you like that all the houses are green? What happens if you do your red, you do your yellow, you do your blue, and we bring some color into the place? Will you stay there? Yes, that would be an idea. Or the people will sit together and say, look, I have this dream of more green in my area. And you say, okay, how are we going to do about it? You say, yeah, okay, what about having trees on the pavement? And they say, yeah, that would be fantastic, but who waters them? That's when it starts getting tricky. And they say, look, say now, I would say we put 2 trees in front of your house, but you put the water pipe there, or you give it water. And your neighbor also, and the neighbor also. And so suddenly you get the whole tree lane there. And that is, so the public participation is number 1 in urban design. There's no way about it.
Are there any local examples of urban design frameworks being used to successfully design neighborhoods or spaces and turn non-spaces into spaces in Windhoek? I
know of one which has been done very many years ago, which is the Levinson Arcade and the City Passage, from Independence Avenue to Windhoek. That portion, that is an urban design design which was done by Carrie McNamara's in those days, with also the bridge which goes over, which links Windhoek with Independence Avenue. So it's a pedestrian route, you know. And you see there's like the meteorites there, then you see these stalls, these vendors in the road, then you have different architectures between them. So that was a conscious urban design exercise.
And do you think there are more non-places such as the Luxury Hill North area that require urban design frameworks in the city?
Yeah, basically I think all the areas need urban design. We are very poor in actually shaping our environment. It has been neglected, and I know it costs money, and money is not always there. So, but if people realize, okay, they did this like this, they did it like this, maybe we should also do something like that. And then as time goes on, things will also happen and come together, yes.
You beautifully described how the bridge that connects the both parts of the Vernhill Mall Park aid in getting pedestrians safely across the road.
Yeah.
How does urban design then assist in making transportation around the city more accessible for not just pedestrians but even vehicles as well?
Yeah, it is a difficult thing because it involves engineers and town planners and everything, so it is a group exercise. But if one were to, what my personal point of view is, if you densify along larger routes, which I call corridors, there's more people there, which then gives you need for more bus stops. And if you have more bus stops, you have more regular bus traffic, so that you have less cars. Because at this stage the roads are congested. So if you have that then, and when you plan in the cycling routes at the same time, it means that you have to change the road design, which you need to get the engineers in again. And then because a certain cycling path is a certain size, and you can't have a cycling road just anywhere, so you need to have, you need to consider those spaces, and the cyclist needs to be safe, the driver needs to be safe, the road user, the pedestrian needs to be safe, and the guy who jumps off and comes onto the bus needs to be safe. So all of these things work together, and you need to dimension this properly in a way.
Well, like you said, it can be quite pricey or quite heavy on the pocket because all of these stakeholders then have to come into play. But how can this investment into urban design improve the everyday lives of residents?
It automatically improves them because you are happy. You enjoy your space. You rather want to be there than somewhere else. So you make an effort to be there. So if you have now, say now you have a dead road with a couple of houses there, you rather be in your house or at a pub or something like that. You don't want to be there. Now say now we were to upgrade that and say, okay, now we're going to pave this road, we're going to have some trees there, we're going to have a section which is now the bicycle path, which is different to the street, maybe higher, also safer, maybe different color. And then we have a road which is maybe a little bit narrower and enough parking at other places. But the pavement space now between the house or the property line and say the tree line needs to be shaded. And so you walk nicely there. You sit against a tree, or maybe you have what a nice thing about urban design is now you put in benches. It gives also older people time to rest, or other people to chat with each other. You know, now where do you sit? If you walk, say you've walked now 500 meters, now you're tired because it's hot and so on. You know, if there were no benches, you would go sit there, and then somebody will join you because it's somebody you know from the area, and you chat with each other, and that makes the place livable.
Do you think that urban design is only essential when it comes to the central business district of the city, or is it also crucial, or rather essential, for it to be taken to other suburbs such as, you know, your Kommersdals, your Karatura, and so forth? Yeah,
no, it needs to be everywhere. And the thing is, you need to start somewhere, and usually you start where there is now businesses or there's a lot of people there, and then you start expanding it. But as per the latest structural plan, they want to do policy areas all over. So you have a policy area in Kommersdal or Olympia and so on. So within these areas, you now start implementing these urban design principles and say, look, we need to do this here, and we need to do that there. But Olympia is now different to, say, Karatura. Karatura is maybe a different vibe, a different character, which is not necessarily what you want to have in Olympia. So each one needs to be different. That's why the public participation is so important, because those people will have other ideas than, say, people in Karatura or in Eros or so.
So, but an essential aspect of urban design is also the sustainability aspect of it, because that is the conversation on everybody's mind right now in the era of climate change. So how does urban design help make the city more greener and environmentally friendly? And what sustainable practices can be included during these consultation processes as well as the execution of this framework?
You see, in terms of environmental global warming and so on, a city is the highest energy generator. There's energy or creating heat. You know, the sun is burning on the streets and burning onto the pavements and so on. So the narrower you have a road and the more shading you create through trees and through other means, the more you cool down the space which you are in. So that becomes more environmentally friendly. And that's why I personally have a design or which I want to push through where buildings are actually being built over the pavement on the first floor. So now you are already reducing from that road size it to smaller because you're one floor up, but people can walk at the ground floor and they are in shade, and you're shading that portion of ground already. Now add trees to that, you are cooling it down even more. And those are two of the most effective ways of environmental friendliness. The other thing is to move more closer together. In other words, to have the buildings maybe touch each other. So if a building touches each other itself, then you haven't got sun burning on each of these facades of the buildings, because there are no side facades. The sun is only heating up the front or the back of a house.
Yeah.
So those are principles where you can put environmental friendly. The sustainability is, if you don't water the tree, it will die, So it depends on the people then. How are they going to water the tree or are they going to leave it,